Hello, my name's Lola, and I'm going to be reacting to a new Rockstar Stranger Things recap, everything you need to know. Even though I've already watched the series, my memory sucks, so yeah, I do need a recap. And here we go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Whitney Van Lanningham, and holy Eggo waffles, y'all. I'm so pumped for Stranger Things Season 4. The boys on bikes are back, baby! And they've got one more D&D monster to fight before the series ends. Vecna, aka one of the most powerful liches in fantasy lore. But before we take the weekend to marathon these very long episodes, I want to give you a quick recap of the first 3 seasons, because if you're anything like me, you probably need a little refresher on the Upside Down. Let's get into it. Stranger Things introduces us to the best goddamn Dungeons & Dragons party in Hawkins, Indiana. The group of 4 boys, Will Byers, Lucas Sinclair, Dustin Henderson, and Mike Wheeler's friendship is a love letter to 80s kid gangs like the Losers Club from It, the Goonies, and even a little E.T. Their love for D&D is actually what helps them navigate the Upside Down and its monsters, as the party is able to understand the horrors happening to them through the lens of a fantasy campaign. If not for their nerd knowledge, they'd be Demogorgon snacks by now. Will is taken into the Upside Down, an alternate super terrifying dimension that exists parallel to ours. The party ends up comparing it to the Veil of Shadows, a clouded part of the Forgotten Realms of D&D that is full of undead shadows whose only driving purposes are hunger and hatred. They're hangry guys. So hangry that one of them emerges from the Upside Down and attacks a girl named Barb at a house party. In classic 80s fashion, Barb's friend and Mike's sister Nancy Wheeler and her boyfriend Steve the Hare Harrington are upstairs doing some f***ing. So Barb dies alone in a parallel dimension because she doesn't know how to shotgun a beer properly. The gate to the Upside Down was accidentally opened by a girl named Eleven with psionic superpowers, who was experimented on during the government's MK Ultra program. Scientist Dr. Brenner has been training and forcing her to use a sensory deprivation tank to allow her mind passage into the parallel realm. Alone in complete darkness, Eleven encounters our very first Demogorgon, and in the monster's defeat, the gate between dimensions is opened. When Will fails to return home, his mother, Joyce Byers, and his brother Jonathan contact the Hawkins chief of police, Jim Hopper, to help them find him. Hopper is the quintessential haggard 80s cop trope. I mean, the dude brushes his teeth with beer in the morning, but he doesn't believe her. When the party realizes that no one in power is looking for their friend, they decide to search for Will themselves. But instead, they find Eleven, who escaped from Hawkins' lab. The boys take her back to Mike's house, and he lets her move into a secret tent in his basement like she's his sweet little E.T. Except instead of Reese's Pieces, Elle's whole thing is Eggo waffles. Using a homemade sensory deprivation tank, courtesy of some instructions from Mr. Clark, a middle school science teacher, Eleven locates Will and Slug Barb, and Joyce and Hopper race to Hawkins' lab to the location of the gate. Once inside the Upside Down, they find Will hooked up to all sorts of Demogorgon tentacles. Hopper manages to get him breathing again, and the 3 of them escape together. But back at Hawkins Middle School, the Demogorgons aren't finished with Eleven. Using the last of her powers, she kills the monster, dusting it like Thanos and sending herself back to the Upside Down. Don't worry, she escapes, and Hopper feeds her waffles in the woods. However, this nightmare still isn't over, because at the very end of the season, Will coughs up what looks like a sluggy baby Demogorgon. Now let's hit season 2. Life seems pretty much back to normal for some of these characters. Joyce has a new boyfriend named Bob Newby. Hopper is keeping Eleven safe in his home, and the party adds another member to their group, Max Mayfield. Others this season aren't so lucky, however. Mike is still pining after losing Eleven, Will is in therapy for his Upside Down PTSD with a scientist named Dr. Owens, and this conspiracy nut named Murray Bauman is convinced that Russians have invaded Hawkins. And then there's Billy Hargrove, Max's violent piece of shit stepbrother. Also, crops are dying in fields all over Hawkins, and it's clearly connected somehow to the Upside Down. It turns out that the gate has been reopened, deep in the earth beneath the lab. After Bob has a heart-to-heart with Will, encouraging him to face the monster and his recurring nightmares head-on, he decides to face it that night in his sleep. Unfortunately, he's possessed by an even scarier creature called the Mind Flayer. In D&D, the Mind Flayer is a powerful, sadistic psionic creature who believed all human life to be beneath him, and sought the destruction of the Forgotten Realms. In Hawkins, Indiana, its hive mind wants to spread like a virus and destroy every realm in every universe. It invades Will's mind and body, and it's discovered that the Mind Flayer likes it cold and hates the heat. He has a direct link to the Upside Down, and can think and feel everything that the monster does. He begins drawing creepy, shadowy vines, and when Joyce puts the sketches together, she and Hopper realize that the vines represent an opening to the Upside Down located at the local pumpkin patch. Mike convinces Will to be a spy and use his connection to the Mind Flayer to keep the party posted on its its plans. Another new creature, dubbed a demodog, makes its way to Dustin, who adopts him, feeds him nougat, and names him D'Artagnan after the Three Musketeers. When it grows large enough, it also escapes to the Upside Down. Will is hospitalized, and they realize that the only way to kill the vines is to get the Mind Flayer out of him first. But after burning the vines, and therefore injuring both Will and the monster, Will is possessed to betray the location of his friends and family. Side quest, there's also a B-plot this season that comes to a climax where Eleven runs away and joins the Sid Vicious X-Men. She's able to track down her biological mother, who was tortured by MKUltra and fed LSD during her pregnancy. Elle finds out that her real name is Jane, and that there were other kids just like her out there who were also experimented on. She finds this punk rock Magneto gang and hangs out with them until she senses that Hopper has re-entered the Upside Down. Also, gotta squeeze in here real quick that Nancy and Jonathan get drunk and bang at Marie Bauman's house, so she and Steve are done. Back at the hospital, the place is crawling with demodogs, and poor Bob gets tackled and eaten by one, which, although very tragic, gives them some time to escape. Back at home, Joyce, Nancy, and Jonathan crank the heat up on Will and manage to force the shadow monster out of him. At the same time, Steve, the world's best babysitter, and the kids head down to the Upside Down to burn the rest of the vines. Eleven returns and manages to seal the gate at Hawkins' lab with her powers, and once again saves the day. As a thank you, Dr. Owens gifts Eleven a real birth certificate with her old name and her new dad's last name, Jane Hopper. At the school snowball dance, Mike and Eleven finally dance together for the first time after months of being apart. Max and Lucas also end up dating, and Dustin practices Steve's Farrah Fawcett hairspray technique for the first time. But over at Hawkins Middle School, the shadow monster hovers overhead in the night sky. This time, the gate is closed, but the monster is locked inside with us. In Stranger Things 3, it turns out that Murray Bauman's conspiracies were right all along. The Russians are now fully taking over Hawkins, an homage to the Red Scare of the 80s. Their scientists have invented a machine that produces a blast of energy strong enough to open the gate to the Upside Down, and is a lot more deadly than Eleven's powers. Another scientist named Alexei is tasked with perfecting the technology in less than a year, and a hitman named Grigori was sent to Hawkins as well to violently maintain the secrecy of their operation. The Russians have also invaded local Hawkins government, making a deal with Mayor Klein to buy him off in exchange for the Starcourt Mall and several other local properties. The kids, on the other hand, are having a bitchin' summer break. Mike and Eleven are making out all the time, much to Daddy Hopper's chagrin, and Max and Lucas are breaking up and getting back together like every other week. Jonathan and Nancy are dating now and have internships at the local newspaper. Dustin has spent the last month at Camp Nowhere, got a girlfriend named Susie, and even built a ham radio called Cerebro capable of broadcasting long distances. Steve is working at an ice cream shop called Scoops Ahoy with a girl named Robin, and Lucas's little sister Erica is constantly shaking them down for free samples. Even Billy the douchebag is having a fun summer. He's lifeguarding at the local pool, and he has plans to f*** Mike's mom. Will, however, is feeling left behind. He still just wants to play D&D, but all of his friends are into chicks and babes now. But when he suddenly gets the Demogorgon tingle at the back of his neck, all hell breaks loose in Hawkins. Billy is possessed by the Mind Flayer and dragged to the source, where the monster tasks him with building an army of people to aid in his infectious conquest. Now Billy's the one who likes it cold, and he begins sacrificing other Hawkins residents to the Mind Flayer. Rats infected and possessed by the monster are also running rampant through town, biting and zombifying people before exploding into a puddle of rodent goo. The gang starts investigating the mysterious circumstances surrounding these events. Nancy and Jonathan take on the rats while working at the paper. Joyce realizes that the magnets keep falling off of her fridge and seeks Mr. Clark's help in solving the insane clown posse's deepest question: magnets! How the f*** do they work? While trying to contact Susie, Dustin accidentally intercepts a Russian code and brings it to Steve and Robin to help him crack it. But when Elle and Max are spying on the boys via the Upside Down, Eleven accidentally runs into Billy in the darkness. She realizes that Billy is possessed by the Mind Flayer, but although the party tries to smoke the monster out of him by locking him in a sauna, Billy breaks free and returns to the source. Hopper and Joyce find Alexei at one of the mayor's properties, but Grigori attacks them. They manage to escape to Murray Bauman's safe house with Alexei in tow, and the latter eventually betrays the scientist he works for to help save Hawkins. Unfortunately, Alexei's killed at the hands of Grigori, but at least he got to try a red Slurpee before he died, even if it wasn't cherry. Scoop's troop solves the code, leading them to an underground secret bunker miles beneath the mall. In trying to escape, they accidentally stumble upon the new gate and the machine that can open it. All over Hawkins, the fleet are exploding into liquid meat and joining together to form the body of a super gruesome monster at the behest of the Mind Flayer. One of its tentacles latches onto Eleven, depositing a slug in her leg that begins to drain her powers. In the grossest scene I've ever seen on television, they manage to dig it out, but the damage is done and Elle no longer has her powers. The gang meets at the mall, where Scoop Scoop's troop, the party, Jonathan and Nancy, and the adults plan their attack. Alexei tells them how to close the gate using 2 keys and a passcode, the number for Planck's constant. Scoops head off to Cerebro so that they can broadcast directions to the gate to Joyce, Hopper, and Murray. Dustin is finally able to reach his girlfriend Susie, but she insists that he sing a duet to the Never-Ending Story with her before she'll give him the number to Planck's constant.
Reach the stars, fly a fantasy.
Everybody like, what the freak?
Unfortunately, Hopper is standing next to the machine when Joyce is forced to shut it down and close the gate, and is seemingly disintegrated. The Upside Down closes, but Billy is trying to sacrifice 11 to the Mind Flayer back at Starcourt Mall. She taps into his memories of his mother from when he was a child, and the love he once had for his mom compels him to sacrifice himself to the monster. The Mind Flayer dies when the gate is fully closed. 3 months later, the Byers and 11 are moving away from Hawkins, and the kids say a tearful goodbye. Elle and Mike promise to stay in touch, and Will says he'll play D&D with the boys the next time he's in town. 11 finds a last letter from Hopper that he wrote to her when she and Mike were making out nonstop. In it, he says that he loves her, and it's kind of the perfect send-off for his character. But over in Russia, these comrades are still working with Demogorgons, feeding them prisoners from within their base. And a teaser trailer that came out in 2020 confirmed that, yes, Daddy Hopper is still alive. He's just trapped in a jail overseas with a bunch of guys who want to destroy the world with Demogorgons. And now you're all caught up for season 4! Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Whitney Puppy, follow New Rockstars, subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love, and thanks for watching. Bye!
Yeah, now I can finally watch season 4 and not always be like, huh? What? Huh? Yeah, that's my reaction to New Rockstars Stranger Things recap. Everything you need to know. Yep. See you in the next video. Bye.